through, they'll be compatible. Trace this back to the roots, we getting radical. Roots, radical, I am Hawaiian. Come let you know.
Everything in skating just kind of went along after when the waves weren't good. That's when you skated.
Surfing was it, and skateboarding was just an extension of our surfing.
I remember being in the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium watching Hal Jepsen's surf film, The Super Session, and a young Hawaiian surfer named Larry Bertlemann came on the
Larry Bertlemann was the fundamental impact on the Z-Boy thing. The Z-Boy thing was Larry Bertlemann on concrete. That's what we were all trying to do because Larry Bertlemann just blew doors on everybody.
He put his hands on the wave. He was one of the first guys that I remember doing that. So we started copying that on the ground.
Larry Bertlemann exploded the status quo of surfing upright and redefined the idea of what could be done on a surfboard.
When I saw Larry Bertlemann in a movie do a cutback, I wanted to copy that more than anything in life itself on a skateboard. If I couldn't do it in the water, I'll do it on a skateboard.
We're surfers first and foremost, and the low pivotal style in surfing is really functional. It also has a beautiful aesthetic.
We used to call them do a BERT. We'd do that on the banks. Even on the flat ground, we'd do it.
In the late 1960s, the career paths of Jeff Hackman and Larry Bertlemann crossed on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. Their approaches to surfing could scarcely have been more different. If Hackman wrote the book on precision surfing, then it was Bertlemann who carved onto the scene and shred the manuscript apart. California transplant Jeff Hackman came of age riding the big winter surf on the North Shore. At the age of 17, he shocked the status quo by winning the first Duke Kahanamoku Invitational. Hackman's methodical style, complete with his calculating attack on the waves, propelled him to the pinnacle of surfing and earned him the title Mr. Sunset. Over the next 20 years, a life-or-death struggle with addiction threatened to take all he had earned away. Born on the Big Island of Hawaii, Larry Bertlemann's sheer determination and sharp wit set him apart from the rest of the local pack. Intent on making a career for himself from a sport that offered no sponsorship, Bertlemann, nicknamed Rubberman, single-handedly created the concept of the professional surfer and built on his unique credential as the founder of surfing's new school. Two of surfing's most celebrated victors, both men would have to overcome great personal challenges before earning their places among today's surfing legends. The evolution of surfing takes place as each successive generation breaks through the limitations defined by the last. So it was when new school surfing blasted apart the status quo in brilliant, spontaneous slashes that made everything that went before look stodgy, slow, and cautious. Kelly Slater, Rob Machado, the Irons brothers, and world champion Sonny Garcia are some of the guys that have made a business out of throwing caution to the wind. It's as if they believe that anything is possible. Some of them give credit where credit is due.
You know, Larry changed the way of surfing with, that fluid style of his, so radical and, so Larry.
He was doing aerials back in the 70s, and now they're doing aerials. He used to call them Larials, and his influence was big on the sport.
An exceptional character that's, too bad is lost to the sport. I wish he was around. You don't see Larry Bertlemanns. They come once.
Larry Bertlemann was point man for the advance guard that ushered in surfing's new school paradigm. It was Larry's way of thinking that broke through the free-flowing, speed-line surfing of the 60s. It was Larry's vision of surfing and of celebrity that sent shock waves through the status quo, as his life seemed to reflect, quite literally, his adopted motto and slogan, "Anything is possible."
I like to ride little waves because it'll sharpen up your reactions, and when I ride the bigger waves, it's almost like I think that I'm riding a smaller wave jet on the bigger waves scale. If you just ride the bottom part of the wave, it's just like riding a small wave. A lot of people don't think that way because they think it's a big wave and you can't do so many things, but it's possible. Anything's possible.
Larry Bertlemann was the seminal influence on surfers in his immediate circle who rode at the same spots. He was the guy that started making the moves that everyone on the South Shore was soon doing. Mark Liddell, Buttons Kalui-Kalani, Michael Ho, and Dane Kealoha. It was as hot a local crew as you could imagine. Locals in motion. And the one most in motion was the afro-headed Sultan of Swivel, the Titan of Torque, the first pioneer of the space age, Larry Bertlemann. So unique was Bertlemann that when he started boosting airs in the 1970s, the move was called a Larial. Larry started a chain reaction. As an influencer of future generations, he may be unparalleled in surfing history. First, the core group of town kids, then he made an impact in the country by winning the 1974 Duke. Larry's approach was reflected in the flash of color and attitude in the mid-'80s and in the new lines being drawn by a succession of great surfers from Martin Potter and Tom Carroll to Christian Fletcher and Matt Archibald, and by extension, Kelly Slater and today's new schoolers. There is no question, Larry was the seed.
Larry Bertlemann, I remember him, it's like the thickest, gnarliest waves. I think it was a 5'8" or something. It's like a 10, 12-foot wave by like 6 foot thick, and he's dropping in vertical. I mean, that's crazy. That's seriously nuts.
Lawrence Ka'awa Mehau Bertlemann was born in Hilo on the Big Island of Hawaii in the summer of 1955. There he learned hunting and fishing and martial arts, how to live off the land and sea. His father was from an influential Hawaiian family. When his parents divorced, Mom took the kids and moved to Honolulu, and it was there and then that the 11-year-old future surf star was introduced to the concept of riding waves.
I rented a board for an hour. Never came back the whole day. And yes, I remember paddling out till today, standing up, doing spinners, backwards, forward. It was not even, I think I was surfing threes at that time in Waikiki. Well, it was a small little wave, and I had more fun than I ever imagined. And that same feeling that I had at that time, I'm still looking for now.
He lived a few blocks from the Waikiki surf spot known as Kaiser's, a snappy little wave section of reef that generated speedy waves that allowed ample maneuvering and the occasional barrel. A naturally gifted athlete, Larry learned quickly, begging, borrowing, and remodeling surfboards as he progressed. Longboards were just beginning to transition into short ones when a 9/6 he'd found in the bushes broke in half. Larry simply fiberglassed a fin onto the nose section and evolved along with the rest of the surfing world. Soon the kid with the kinky black hair was entering surf contests and winning them.
Because I remember the first contest I ever won, I won a can of Spam and a can of sardines. And at that time, we were just bums. Surfers were just bums.
Larry set a torrid pace in South Shore surfing competition, excelling in the HSA boys division, then blazing right on through to junior competitions. He and his friends were making an impression. The surfing world between Ala Moana and Diamond Head was fertile ground for evolution. This was new school, no matter that no one called it that. In fact, they didn't know what to call it.
So it's really hard that time to do maneuvers and get judged for it. I mean, imagine if you see something you never seen before, how are you going to judge it? Until everybody else can do it, then now it's being judged. Yeah, like the Larios. Now everybody does it. But those times, 360s in a contest, they didn't know what the hell it was.
Suddenly, Larry found he was getting a lot of attention, notably from the great Hawaiian surfer Ben Aipa, who was shaping boards for Surfboards Hawaii and looking to attract the best local talent to his boards and the team.
Here's this kid down in Ala Moana by the rocks, real talkative, like he knows everything. But when he goes in the water, he proves something, And that's how I met Larry. Then eventually, because he kept coming to the shop, he kept watching me, then I started working with him. Then because of how surfing was changed, he was a part of the change in surfing, So luckily enough for him, keeping his head, and professional surfing was coming, he ventured into it. The timing was right, And Larry bloomed.
But Larry Bertlemann had his own ideas too. Some he'd learned from his father, some from martial arts teachers, some from skateboarding, which he discovered was the perfect solution to frequent South Shore flat spells. It was the low rotation skate style that young Bertlemann took into the surf to blow minds.
And I actually eat, sleep, and fall out of bed thinking of different things to do. I was always wanted to do something different or go different places where I've never been before. And surfing and the surfboard is the vehicle to take me there.
But even as he was pushing the limits of possibility in the water, Larry was frustrated. Where was it all going?
So I thought, okay, I put stickers on the board. I think I can make money doing this. And surfing was doing okay. There was no money into it. So we brought in companies that want to invest in surfing. And those people weren't really paying at that time. So we turned the door. You have to pay the people that's in the magazines.
In a life that had seemed like it was all about adventure from the beginning, Larry dropped out of school after the 8th grade.
I told my counselor, I'm not going to be the person who reads from the book and learns from the book. Nobody thought Einstein math. He invented it. I'm going to be the person who writes it. See ya.
The young surfer had enormous confidence in himself, and this seemed to give him a vision that was unique among his peers. It was as if he could look down the line, into the future, and make the necessary adjustments on the wave of life. Every success fanned the flames. When he made the 1972 World Contest team, he'd just turned 17. But Larry Bertelmann's reputation in the surfing world was already spreading like wildfire. From out of nowhere, he was suddenly 3rd in the world. The publicity followed. An article by Reno Abalera in a winter 1972 issue of Surfer celebrated town and featured hot new photos from the summer. revealing a whole new look and feel of surfing, and Larry got star billing. Already nicknamed Rubberman for his elastic style and non-stop maneuvers, Larry took 6th place in the 1972 Smirnoff Amateurs in solid 10 to 12 foot surf at Sunset Beach. Then on to win the United States Surfing Championships in Huntington Beach in 1973. Larry Bertlemann was validating his new vision of surfing with a meteoric rise unprecedented in surfing history.
I guess I was doing things that, let's say, was humanly impossible to do. So I take that as a compliment.
Larry Bertlemann seemed born and raised to live a life on the edge. Back in the early 1970s, no one was more dedicated to blazing a trail into an unknown future. His low-rotation skateboard maneuvers were the foundation of an iconoclastic repertoire that forever altered the direction of hot dog surfing. And as his surfing evolved, so did his search for equipment that would take him where he wanted to go.
I figured out a way to blend it all together with the skate. I like to ride a fin that's really far up on the board because it's so loose and you can stay really low on the board. Your center of gravity has to be low in order for this thing to work. And it's just, I ride it loose. It's sort of loose in the box so that when you turn, the fin will go like this. Every time you turn, it'll give a tension on it. And then when you hit the turn, it'll flex a little bit, and you go back the other way and it flex again.
Larry pushed the limits on his skateboard, then brought what he learned into the ocean. His alliance with Ben Aipo was just what the doctor ordered, as the big guy delivered a steady progression of design innovations that took Bertlemann to even greater heights.
Part of it is the progression of surfing maneuvers, you know. Those center of gravity, speed, snaps, roundhouse cutbacks, you know, like when we was in California after we got through with the World Contest, we had a cutback surf off at Ventura, the point, with Mike Purpose. And Larry put him away.
Aside from just shaping his boards, Ben also taught Larry to shape.
He taught me a lot. He really did. But when we're shaping, it's usually 2 boards comes out. One the way he was going, and one the way I was going. Because I wanted to go someplace where I've never seen. I mean, nobody's ever seen. I could see something in my mind, and the material, well, the vehicles couldn't get me there. So we had to develop something to get me to where I wanted to go. His deal was this thing. We worked on the swallowtail, and we did that.
Through it all, Larry showed a non-stop party animal enthusiasm that often amused and sometimes embarrassed his companions. Larry brought this same energy to bear on his career, aggressively gathering sponsors and building a support base for his lifestyle as an international surfing celebrity. Perhaps more significantly even than the surfing, Bertlemann's approach to his professional career helped define the lifestyle of the 80s and 90s as the surfing world followed him, stepping through the new doors that Larry kept opening. The way Larry sees it, however, his greatest contribution to surfing was figuring out how surfers could get paid for doing what they love to do. He always played it first class, posing with a Rolls-Royce, sponsored by United Airlines, starring in the OP ads in the magazines, recipient of a record 13 Duke Kahanamoku trophies. As good as Bertlemann's contest results occasionally were, his main cachet was his beaming public persona.
He was the original hip-hop style. He was, you know, back then with the hair, it was like Motown comes to V-Land, you know, it was really different.
Larry was a showman, you know, and he was always right, never wrong, you know, and he always get the last word at times. So he had this thing, anything is possible. He always would say that. And my thing was, but don't get caught doing the same thing twice.
Even though others had made money from the sport before him, Larry Bertlemann sometimes seems like the first professional surfer. He definitely cranked the scene up a few notches, helping to create the environment that made the big bucks of the last couple of decades possible. But then in the mid-1980s, after hundreds of magazine articles, countless covers and surf films, Larry Bertlemann vanished from the surfing world.
Ooh, that's a touchy situation. By that time, I was kind of bored. And I did stuff to help my surfing, like martial arts, I race cars, I race motorcycles, I jump out of planes, I sky surf. By that time, it started beginning to be a job. And I really didn't like that. My life wasn't my life anymore. It was public life, wherever I went. And I wanted to see the world and see how people live without water.
Ask Larry Bertlemann where he's been since 1985, and you'll get a glimpse into a prototype fast lane existence with emphasis on the extremes.
Yeah, we used to live up in Bel Air, which is the richer district of Beverly Hills. But we had we call it the compound. From Ferraris to pinball machines we have up there. Tennis courts, racquetball courts, and we throw parties. Ooh. Fun. I'll leave that to your imagination.
Meanwhile, throughout the late 80s and into the 90s, he was producing benefit concerts and similar events to help homeless mothers and kids in need of a hand. It's apparent, though, that his biggest contribution has been his influence on other surfers.
I think his aggressiveness with the way he rode waves influenced me. You know, just doing all these maneuvers and trying to move as quick as possible. That was the part that really influenced me the most.
He was an impact because he was flamboyant. He was like really aggressive, and he could switch stance, left stance, right stance.
You know, in his time, he was a great ambassador for surfing, especially from Hawaii. I mean, everybody will remember, you know, Larry as one of the greatest surfers, or you know, the greatest surfer of his time.
Today, with 2 marriages behind him and 2 daughters from the first, Larry Bertlemann works out of a cluttered walk-up surf shop near Honolulu Harbor. He doesn't surf much anymore, mainly due to the paralysis that laid him up a few years back.
Compressed disc I got in my neck. I was almost paralyzed for the last 2 years ago. They had to cut my throat to pull up the disc in my neck. Walked in at 5 o'clock on wheelchaired in at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I walked out at 9 that morning. I said, I can't stay in this hospital, I'll get sick.
Now Larry's walking and shaping again, and his mind has new visions of what's possible. He maintains a low profile and builds custom boards for the local crew at reasonable prices.
Basically, my new kite board. For those people who don't know about kite surfing, just hang onto a kite and go cruising. See, these people, the technology they have is very new, and they're spitting out so much. So they made channels on the bottom of the board, which made the board thinner. And what I did was I reversed the stings on this, which is black part right over here. That acts like a fin going upwind. Put the keels on instead of taking the foam off, which gives you more buoyancy, and you can float. This is basically the newest deal. And you get in it first. Right on.
Contemplating another surgery that could put him back into the water, doing the things that he'd still like to do, Larry Bertlemann continues to be energized by what might be humanly or inhumanly possible.
Just having fun. That's basically what it is. In fact, I'm still trying to catch my first wave again. That same feeling is what you chase. Very true.